everybody? What's happening, everybody? Thursday, October 30th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Democratic Rep Jim Hines, a person you've never heard of, up until about 4 minutes from now, says that a President AOC could send out the military to kill Trump supporters. Yeah, he said that. Both sides. Both sides. Also, some 20-something socialist who's running for Congress in Chicago is very upset because she learned that there's something in life called consequences. I'm sure her parents never taught her that. I'm sure she's one of these young people today who, decide what they get to have for dinner. But she has been indicted for breaking the law. Breaking the law. And just right off the bat, I want to be very clear. I have absolutely no idea how to say this girl's name. I'm not being a dick. I'm sure there'll be plenty of time for me to do that. But I have absolutely no idea how this name is pronounced. Not even a little bit. I tried to learn, and I can't. I absolutely can't. Also, we're going to be talking about the New Jersey governor's race. Things are heating up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Because I got news for you, baby. Especially for our local viewers out there. Once we win New Jersey, New York is next. And then we're going to get to the New York City mayor's race that I'm going to have some choice words for some choice people today. If you went on Twitter, if you went on Facebook, you may see that the polls are tightening. No, they aren't. No, they aren't. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this race ended weeks ago when 3 arrogant assholes wouldn't get out of the race. I've been saying it for as long as I possibly could. Nobody wants to listen to me because virtue signaling is way more important. Way more important. Also, we've got shutdown updates and all that went on at Old Miss last night. J.D. Vance turning some heads, and some people are very upset with him because of one slightly moderate question he got. Turns out, I'm gonna get in so much trouble during this show today. I'm gonna get in so much trouble. I don't care. I don't. I mean, I'm gonna. But whatever. Also, just so you know, you get a double dose of me today because I'm going to be going until 4:30, baby. Filling in for Hannah Faulkner for a little bit today. She is at the New Media Conference in Washington, D.C. So I'll be filling in for Hannah for a bit today. Giddy up. Let's go. But before we get started, guys, do me a favor and head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on over here. Over here, giddy up. Do I have it up? No, I don't. Here it is. Boom, boom, boom. There it is, guys. Hell, loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Also, we've got so much stuff for the winter season. Beanies and hoodies you guys are going to want to pick up. Get your Christmas shopping done early over at the Loud Majority. Go to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. That is the best way to get all of your amazing Christmas gifts right off the bat. Look at these sweatpants. Who doesn't want some phenomenal sweatpants, guys? Check those out today. LoudMajorityUSA.com and use promo code Rumble to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code Rumble to get 20% off everything on the website. We really do appreciate the support. As always, guys, can't do this without your help. So, before we get into this chick from Chicago, whose name I can't say, and once again, I'm not being a dick. I'm going to pull her name up on the screen. You tell me if you know how to pronounce it. There's a whole bunch of letters that seem to not go where they're supposed to go. Before we get into her, we're going to talk about Jim Hines. Jim Hines. I don't know what the hell his name is. I don't know what his name is. He had an interesting little nugget on MSNBC today where he suggested that because Donald Trump is blowing up Venezuelan boats in the ocean, carrying drugs, which is poisoning Americans. Because he's doing that, that could be the impetus for a future President AOC to kill us. As I describe this video to you, I'm having almost a difficult time even saying it out loud, but this guy actually said that.
They're not terrorists. They may be drug runners. We don't know that for sure. But just because you call somebody a terrorist, we call lots of people terrorists, doesn't mean that the military is authorized to go after them. And if no other reason, and look, I talk to an awful lot of people who, despite the fact that this is illegal, are comfortable with lethal action against purported, maybe, cartel members. Where does it stop? Do we now start executing drug dealers on the corners of Brooklyn? Where does it stop? If all of a sudden the government, without telling anybody anything, can take this kind of lethal action just because they've decided that they've got the right to do so. If Lindsey Graham and other Republicans want to go the route of saying it's okay to kill people illegally, just so long as the American public supports it, the American public needs to really think that through. There will be a Democratic president someday, and all my MAGA friends who are, cheering on these illegal killings need to imagine who gets killed when President Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says that it doesn't matter what the law says. She's going to do what she's going to do. So look, I work here, so I understand the complete abnegation of principle and a complete thumbing of the nose at the rule of law, but I would hope that people like Lindsey Graham might not go that path, because it's a very, very dangerous path for this country to go down.
What was that? Let's say, for example, he meant that President AOC, God help me, I hope I never have to say that sentence ever again, but for the sake of the argument, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he said that President AOC wanted to bomb drug cartels in the middle of the ocean. Okay. All right. Go ahead, President Cortez. God, I can't believe I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. Get that out of here. Go ahead. Do it. But what could he have meant? Both sides. Both sides, guys. Remember, guys, it's both sides. Sure, a guy who was sleeping with a tranny furry blew up. I'm sorry, a guy that was sleeping with a tranny furry decided to shoot Charlie Kirk. Sure. Despite the fact that, both sides. Both sides. Let's just, I don't know, man. It's starting not to sound like both sides to me. Both sides aren't out there doing this. Jim Himes went on TV and said that. And, nothing's happening. Both sides. I'm really getting sick and tired of the both sides argument, because it's not. It's not both sides. It's just them. It's just them. That happened. And nothing will be done about it. Nothing will be done about it. The Attorney General candidate in Virginia hopes that your children die in your arms so that you'll change the way you vote. He said that. Both sides. It just isn't. It just isn't. Now, let's contrast that with what happened yesterday at Ole Miss. Now, look, to be fair, Oxford, Mississippi, slightly a Republican area, one could say. Erica Kirk and J.D. Vance absolutely shut the house down last night. Speaking at Ole Miss, big fan of Ole Miss. Thank you for Jackson Dart, by the way. But incredible. 10,000 people lined up in the rain with thousands of more not being able to get into the venue for what was an incredible, incredible event. Here was Erica Kirk.
Isn't how long you're going to live. It's what are you going to do with your life and the time that the Lord has blessed you with? What are you going to do with that? That's the question. And when you get to the end of your life, will the Lord be proud of what you stood for? Will you be able to say that you ran the race, that you fought the good fight? Or will you realize that you wasted your time that the Lord has blessed you with chasing after things that didn't even matter? Hold that into perspective. And remember, being the courageous generation that you are, stand up for the truth, defend life, love your family fearlessly, love your spouse fearlessly, love this country, defend her, and serve our God. And don't think that it's someone else's role to do it. You do it. You do it. Do it for Charlie. Do it for Charlie.
Yeah, it certainly looks like both sides to me. Certainly looks like both sides to me. And that's what the theme of the next couple of days on this show is going to be. Because I've got to be honest with you, and there's a lot of people watching this right now. A lot of people watching this right now. I'm really annoyed with people, okay? Because there's a lot of people who have a whole lot of opinions about a whole lot of topics. And they spend all day out on Facebook, and they're mean tweeting, and they're doing all this. And then when it comes time to get out and make phone calls and knock on doors and send text messages and get active, suddenly they're hiding under a rock. Now, I want to make something very clear. Every one of you can take part in an election in 5 days. Every one of you can do it. Doesn't matter where you live. You can get involved in your local area, or you can get involved in some of the bigger races. New York City, which we're going to discuss in a little bit, which is all but over. Or Virginia, which is definitely going to be a bellwether, even though it kind of shouldn't be. Or New Jersey, the momentum builder. Every one of you can get involved in that. And the way you can get involved in that is you can take out your phone that most of you are currently holding in your hand. Let's be honest. It's like an adult pacifier. You can get out your phone and you can download the Early Vote Action app. Scott Presler's app. Some of you I know already have done so. And you can send out text messages to voters in numerous different states about getting out and making a plan to early vote. You can do that. It doesn't matter where you're watching this from. And by doing that, you will have an impact on this election. So just remember, if you can share a meme, you can send a text message. It's not that hard. Most of you do it all day anyway. If you can play one of those stupid games on your phone, you can get involved in local elections. Now look, I know that some people are uncomfortable with going up and knocking on people's doors and having that face-to-face thing. I absolutely get that. But there is no reason, how many reasons? None of them. No reason why a person sitting at home all day long watching Jeopardy and The Price is Right can also send out text messages to help our fellow Republicans. Because look, some of you I know live in red areas. You got a red congressman, you got a red senator, you got a red state senator, you got a red governor. But not all of us are that lucky. Not all of us are that lucky. So if you want to know how you can get involved, that's how you can get involved. You don't have to start a movement like Sean and I did, like the Loud Majority. You can just plop your ass right on the couch and send out text messages. Here is Scott Presler talking about just that.
Early voting has started in New Jersey, and we are just 1 week away from Election Day. The high-stakes gubernatorial race is tightening, with Republican Jack Ciattarelli trailing just 5 points behind Democrat Mikey Sherrill. Over in Virginia, Republican Winsome Earl-Sears is 8 points behind Abigail Spanberger, as the Democrat is slated to campaign with former President Obama this weekend. So the question is, will the GOP pull through in these tight races? Voter registration activist and founder of Early Vote Action, Scott Presler, joins me now. Scott, good morning. It is great to see you 1 week out. So let's start in New Jersey, where early voting started on Saturday, and more Democrats have come out to vote than Republicans so far. Here are the numbers. 68,000 Democrats cast early in-person ballots compared to over 63,000 Republican ballots so far. So what is your takeaway when you see those numbers?
Well, Republicans, you need to get out and vote. Yes, we are matching the Democrats 68 to 63. However, we should be winning early in-person voting right now, and the Democrats are also have a big lead in the vote by mail. So if Republicans actually want to elect Jack Ciattarelli as the next governor, well, you have until November 2nd to vote early in person, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. No excuses. Sunday, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. You have so many opportunities, so get out and vote today, early in person. Type into the internet, New Jersey, early in person. It has all 21 counties and the places that you can vote.
Okay. And then we just showed the poll numbers. Mikey Sherrill at 50%, Jack Ciattarelli at 45%. Do you view this as a 5-point race?
Listen, the only poll that matters is Election Day, Tuesday, November 4, 2025. And you said it yourself. They are pulling out President Obama last minute.
Do you think that matters? Do you think that will help Mikey Sherrill?
I think it shows the Democrats are scared. Why would they be investing hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars last minute in these campaigns unless they felt that their candidates weren't going to win? Republicans have momentum. We have the energy at our backs. But I want to remind viewers at home, 84,000 voters decided 2021, 600,000 Republicans stayed home. Republicans, vote early.
Well, there is some reporting over concerns among Democrats with Black and Hispanic turnout for Mikey Sherrill. Is that something that you're seeing on the ground?
We are. I want to give a shout out to my team, especially in Passaic County. Passaic is where we have our beautiful Hispanic and Orthodox Jewish community. This is a majority minority county that voted for President Trump for the first time since 1988. And Jack Ciattarelli, I was just with him with Puerto Rican Governor Jennifer Gonzalez Colon. And let me tell you, the Puerto Rican community, Boricuas for Jack Ciattarelli, Dominicanos for Jack Ciattarelli. We are courting the Hispanic vote in Passaic County.
Well, you mentioned the Orthodox Jewish vote, and there was news made yesterday because for the first time in New Jersey politics, Orthodox Jewish leaders across Ocean County have united behind Jack Ciattarelli.
Yes.
Tell us why this is such a big deal.
Well, in 2021, the Jewish community kind of got behind lockdown Phil Murphy. And again, that race was decided by 84,000 votes. In Ocean County, which is red, but we need big, beautiful turnout. The fact that the VOD is endorsing Jack Ciattarelli and you're seeing the Jewish community there getting behind him, that could be the difference maker. But again, vote early in person today through November 2nd. Jack Ciattarelli for governor.
Okay, so we have to leave it there, but really quickly, I know you have some notes on an important
Yes.
race in Pennsylvania. So quickly, what's your message there?
So please, Pennsylvania, I need people to flip over their ballot to fire Judges Dougherty, Donahue, and Wecht. Today is the last day to request a mail-in ballot. If you're not going to be home on Tuesday, November 4, 2025, please go to vote.pa.gov, request your mail-in ballot today, and you can vote in person last day today.
Scott, you're a busy man, and I know this next week you're going to be firing it on all cylinders before
Yes.
November 4th. Founder of Early Vote Action, Scott Presler, we thank you for joining us this morning.
Now, look, some of you may be saying, Kevin, I don't live in New Jersey, and I don't live in Pennsylvania. Well, there you just watched a guy who was born in Virginia, who lives in Pennsylvania, going to do everything he can to flip the state of New Jersey. No one's asking you to start a gigantic PAC. Just take out your phone and download the app. You can do it from your phone. I've worked very close with Scott for a number of years. Scott's one of the best people I know. And I'm not even going to look at the chat right now because I'm going to assume there's at least one or two people out there who have some kind of negative comment to make about Scott Presler for whatever reason. I'm sure we can all figure out what that reason is. And if you're one of those people, do me a favor. On your computer screen, there's a little X right at the very top. You can go ahead and click that fucking thing if Scott Presler's not your cup of tea because of whatever reason. The guy's out there doing more work than almost anyone, with the exception of maybe the candidates. So, it's not hard to criticize from behind your keyboard doing a whole bunch of nothing. Don't worry. So, it's not that hard. Why? Because politics is about momentum. We win in New Jersey in 25, we win in New York in 26, we flip some Senate seats, we get a supermajority, and then we don't need to worry about this damn filibuster and keeping the government shut down, causing people to starve. Moreover, if we're able to flip New Jersey in 2025, perhaps we can get rid of this dumbass in 2026, as Cory Booker goes on CNN, and I don't know what he says here. I mean, yeah, he's using words, and he's combining them into a sentence, but I think he's taking something out of the Kamala Harris playbook, where if you take a dictionary and you throw it into a washing machine, eventually you'll come out with something forming a sentence.
I want you to listen to Elizabeth Austin. She's a single mom of two who relies on SNAP. She was on CNN this morning, and she was talking about what happens if and when that money runs out on Saturday.
It won't stretch. It doesn't. So we'll pull from other parts of our budget. And that means my kids will go without. My daughter's birthday's coming up. It means I'll compensate in other areas that I shouldn't have to compensate.
So you say that Republicans are being cruel, but it's also true that you just have to vote yes, and 4 other Democratic senators have to vote yes, and the government will be reopened. And Elizabeth and 800,000 constituents of yours in New Jersey will, at least in the short term, not go without food.
Well, you see the choice that the Republicans are trying to force here. Choose between New Jersey's health insurance and health coverage or feeding New Jerseyans. This is a cruel choice that they're trying to make. We're saying that the richest country in the planet Earth has the ability to do both, to lower people's healthcare costs and to give people the resources they need to eat. This is very personal to me. As you know, I'm the only United States senator that lives in an inner city area where the majority of my community, they're working families, but we don't mistake wealth with worth, but we're about at the poverty line in my community where I live. I see families that every day work hard and play by the rules and are getting screwed by a rigged economy.
Right, Cory Booker. You see, you live in an inner city, and many people in that inner city. First off, that's not true at all. Chuck Schumer lives in Brooklyn, and I'm sure I could come up with other ones, so right off the bat, like that was just off the top of my head. False. But Cory Booker, live in Newark, a city where many of the constituents are below the poverty line. You are absolutely correct. Someone should really discuss with, the mayor of Newark why that is. Like you, Cory Booker, the former mayor of Newark. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Turns out Cory Booker thinks that and look, Newark sucks, okay? It does. Newark Airport is the worst airport in America. Changed my mind. You can't do it. If the flight was free, I still wouldn't go to Newark Airport. So Cory Booker is complaining that people in his city cannot afford to eat, despite the fact he was the mayor of the city, which made prices so high that people can't afford to eat. What? No wonder he left the room the other day when Michael Knowles decided to chastise him and make him look like a buffoon, just in case anybody needs to be remembered of that one.
I think Senator Booker made a good point just a moment ago when he said we have to self-examine, we have to be introspective. And, I can't help but think of a line today. Jay Jones has the vision, commitment, and integrity to keep families safe. and make sure every Virginian gets a fair shake in the justice system, I'll be working every day to ensure Jay wins this race. That's the endorsement of Senator Booker for a man who would seek to be the Attorney General of Virginia. This is a man who, if people have not been reading the news, has called for a Republican to be murdered, for his children to be murdered, for the children to die in their mother's arms in order to persuade the Republican to change his policy views, and a man who says that he would urinate on the graves of multiple Republicans. Senator Booker, in this spirit of introspection, is standing by this endorsement. So I suppose I would invite, perhaps I should have looked, because Senator Booker has left the room, and I think I can guess why. Senator Booker, I think, should practice what he preaches, because this is the kind of moment. You cannot have a professor who wants to teach students and is going to desire to kill half of them. You certainly cannot have law enforcement officers who would engage in this kind of violent rhetoric against half of their constituents. So long as anyone stands by an endorsement such as that, their words are meaningless. They are shedding crocodile tears on the topic of political violence.
Yeah, I'm just gonna save that clip because I could watch it all. There are bad Democratic senators. There are. But then there's Cory Booker, who bothers me on a significantly more serious level. Adam Schiff is a criminal and a fraud, and he lied to the American people. Okay, fine. Elizabeth Warren, Chief Hiawatha, the whitest lady to ever live, the only person in history to ever fail a DNA test. She sucks. Definitely really bad. Schumer, really, really bad. Doesn't know how to cook a hamburger. They all bother me. But Cory Booker, for some reason, and I know what the idiots watching this are going to say, and that's not the reason, stop making everything about race. I think it's because Cory Booker has this, sense of entitlement, this sort of arrogance about him, despite being not only a dumbass, but a coward. I say it all the time. It's okay to be arrogant, and it's okay to be stupid, but it's not okay to be stupid and arrogant at the same time. You can do one, you can do the other, but you can't do them both. It's like ice cream and cake. Ice cream is good, cake is good, ice cream, cake sucks. Stupid is okay, arrogant is okay, stupid and arrogant, not okay. But it turns out there actually are some people in this government that are actually making attempts to make life a little bit better. And J.D. Vance sat down with industry leaders of aviation today to discuss all of what is happening, because it turns out air traffic controllers not being paid, TSA agents not being paid. And this is a serious problem, not only for the people who are not receiving paychecks, but for the people in which they service. We're seeing outages all over the country right now. National, down in Washington, D.C., had to ground halt many of their flights due to a shortage of air traffic controllers. The aforementioned Newark Airport had to ground flights because it's Newark, and it sucks. It just does. It's not a dig. It's a look. LaGuardia sucks too, okay? It's not, I'm not taking a dig at New Jersey here. It's just, some airports are better than others. LAX, O'Hare, very good airports. Newark, not. Here was J.D. Vance with members of the aviation world.
Everybody, how we doing? Good. Well, let's let these guys file out here, but what we just did was a little roundtable with leaders in the aviation industry. We've got leaders of labor represented. We've got leaders of the businesses that are, of course, making the airline industry run. And I just wanted to hear from people about the stresses of the aviation industry in light of the fact of the shutdown. And here's what I found out. It actually worries me a great deal, because I think that as much as delays have gotten worse over the last couple of weeks, everybody here is very worried that we're going to see more delays, more stresses on the people who are actually making the aviation system run, and more problems for both the consumers but also the great workers who actually make this incredible shining jewel of the American economy actually work and work on time and work safely. Here are the things that I worry about. I worry about the people who are scanning our bags and making us get through the security line. I worry they're not getting paychecks. They're starting to get worried about how to feed their families and how to pay school tuition and everything else. I worry about the pilots who haven't gotten paid in a long time. I worry about the air traffic controllers who, of course, make this entire system extra safe. I worry about them, more worried about their credit card bill than they should be because they're not getting a paycheck because Democrats refuse to open the government. Now, I understand that a lot of Americans are sick of partisanship in Washington, D.C. Trust me, I've been here for 9 months in this job. I am sick of partisanship in Washington, D.C. But this is very, very simple. Every partisan dispute, every policy disagreement, all of these things we can talk about, we can reason through, we can disagree, we can shake hands and compromise on some of those issues, hopefully. But this is something that every single American, Democrat or Republican or independent, should be able to agree on. Open the government. Stop this craziness and open the government. It's causing way too many problems, and some of the folks behind me are the people who are dealing with the problems. Now, let's just recap exactly what's happened politically in this town related to the government shutdown. We have had now multiple votes to reopen the United States government. The House of Representatives has voted affirmatively to reopen the United States government. 52 Republicans and 3 Democrats consistently vote to reopen the United States government, but we need 60 votes. So all we need to end the craziness, to pay the air traffic controllers, to pay the TSA agents, to pay the pilots, to make sure that food stamp benefits continue to go out to the American people who need them. All we need is 5 reasonable Democrats to join 3 moderate Democrats and 52 Republicans to reopen the government. I want to let Sean Duffy say something, but before I do, I just want to say to any Democrat in the United States Senate, we are happy to talk about any policy issue. We're happy to talk about health care policy. We're happy to talk about tax policy. We're happy to talk about regulatory policy, but not at the point of a gun. You do not get to take the American people's government hostage and then demand that we give you everything you want in order to pay our air traffic controllers. It's a ridiculous set of demands. Let's reopen the government, and then let's sit down and talk about how to compromise on policy for the American people. Sean?
Appreciate it, Mr. Vice President. So, first, I want to thank you for
I don't mean to cut off Sean Duffy, but that leads me into my J.D. Vance segment. J.D. Vance actually out there doing the work of the American people. And I want to be clear, his stock is rising every single day. Are we looking at 48? Are we looking at 48 right there? Well, if last night's speech at Ole Miss is any judge of that, I would have to roll with more than likely, maybe, yes. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, it's that time of year again, isn't it? My favorite time of year, fall. Oh, I love the leaves. I love the autumn smell. I love the pumpkins. I love it all right before the snow flies. But what I don't love that comes with the cold weather and the fall weather is the flu, are the sniffles, the cold, all those common cold sniffles that you get every year. And if you have kids in the house, little kids going to and fro school, and they're coming back and they're touching everything and they're bringing the bacteria and all those viruses home from school, you don't want anything to do with that. You want to be proactive rather than reactive. That's why we're going to talk about propolis today. You know what propolis is? Well, ladies and gentlemen, propolis is what works as a barrier to keep the beehive absolutely safe. And what am I talking about? Well, Beekeepers Naturals. Now, my wife really turned me on to this. This is an endorsement of my wife and then myself as well. Beekeepers Naturals, folks, that is exactly what this is. This is a proactive rather than a reactive, all natural, all clean alternative to big food and big pharma. You've got your Beekeepers vitamin C packs, which are perfect for on the go, right? You've got your Beekeepers Propolis nasal spray. A few shots up the nose, clears out your nostrils, cleans any congestion that you have, and it's all natural, and it's going to work as a proactive barrier to any of that unwanted bacteria getting in. How about the Beekeepers All Natural Propolis Immune Throat Spray? 3 or 4 pumps of that a day, and anything that you're breathing in is going to be either repelled or killed right away. That's the amazing thing about propolis, and that is the amazing thing about Beekeepers Naturals. And I got a 20% discount for you. What's better than that? 20% discount. Look, you can even get the throat soothing pops and the kids' prebiotic fiber pops, along with the throat spray, along with the nasal spray, along with the vitamin C packs. Folks, they've got it all, and it's an all-natural, clean, beautiful option for you to have in order to, get away from the big food, get away from the big pharma, and go more natural, especially with a 20% discount. How can you not go to Beekeepers Naturals today /LFA and get your 20% discount. Clean out your medicine cabinet today with beekeepers.com/LFA. And now back to the show.
So J.D. Vance's stock continues to rise as the likely candidate in 2028, and I'm liking it, and I'm liking every bit of it. A kid from Middleton, Ohio, showed that you actually can make it in this country if you work your ass off and you get very, very lucky. Now, with that being said, last night J.D. Vance spoke at Ole Miss. Spoke at Ole Miss to a bunch of college kids at their Turning Point USA event. Also, very excited. I'm going to have some big news for the local crowd about a local Turning Point, about a local college Republican chapter. Very, very excited about that. Well, I'll bring you those details when I can. But J.D. Vance was at Ole Miss last night, and he did exactly what Charlie did. He took questions from the crowd, and he took challenging questions on immigration, on his relationship with Peter Thiel, which he has been criticized for a great deal. And then he answered one question that has the world up in arms. I'm sure you can guess what it's about. But let's start with the good. Let's start with the overwhelmingly positive ones first. Here with J.D. Vance speaking to a young man whose girlfriend came here on an H-1B visa, and now they are working towards getting her a green card to stay permanently.
What is your view on legal immigration? Personally, I have a girlfriend who's studying in America off a visa. Our hope is eventually getting a green card. So what is your view on legal immigration? Should we reduce it? Also, what is your plan for a merit-based system?
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate the question. And look, my honest view is that right now, America, thanks in part to the Biden border invasion, but also thanks in part to a lot of bad immigration policy, right now we have let in too many immigrants into the United States of America. That is just a fundamental reality. Now, look, legal immigration is complicated because we let in about 1 million legal immigrants into the United States of America every single year, and I think the evidence is pretty clear that a lot of those immigrants are actually undercutting the wages of American workers. It's one of the reasons why the President of the United States, and a lot of us in the administration have encouraged H-1B reform, because if you look at the H-1B visa, what it's supposed to be is that you have a super genius who's studying at an American university, who's working at a great company. You want that super genius to stay in the United States of America and not go somewhere else. What it's actually used to do is hire an accountant at a 50% discount to an American citizen. I don't think that we should be hiring accountants from foreign countries when we've got accountants right here in the United States that would love to work for a good wage. Now, you asked about, I think, your girlfriend, you said, and I obviously don't know the full details about your situation, but my view is, look, there are people who want to come to the United States of America, and some of them, I'm sure, can enrich the United States of America by coming here, but we have got to get our overall numbers way, way down. Too many people have come into the United States of America. I am married to the daughter of immigrants who came to the United States in the 1980s. I do believe that some immigrants, many immigrants do in fact enrich the United States of America, but here's the problem. We don't even know how many illegal aliens we have. We don't even know. The best guess is probably 25, 30 million people. I've heard estimates as high as 50 million. When something like that happens, you've got to allow your own society to cohere a little bit, to build a sense of common identity, for all the newcomers to assimilate, the ones who are going to stay, to assimilate into American culture. Until you do that, you've got to be careful about any additional immigration, in my view.
Pretty standard answer there. Pretty good answer. Right down the sensible and didn't use ridiculous psychobabble. He's absolutely correct. The H-1B system does need to be reformed in this country. It is being taken advantage of. It is undercutting American workers. And JD is right. If there's some super genius out there who understands just crazy-ass math that people like me will never understand. I do want them to come to America and come to American universities and enrich this country. I absolutely do. I absolutely believe that it is the right of a country to pick and choose which people they allow into it. Instead of just saying, oh, your country sucks, come on in. If you're some, like, Goodwill Hunting math genius and you're living in Sri Lanka, or, I don't know, pick somewhere else, I think it would be beneficial for the United States to have some kind of super genius come over here and just sit around thinking about shit all day long. There's plenty of colleges, plenty of grants they could get where really smart people just sit around and all they do all day long is they just think about stuff. I've been trying to get one of those jobs for quite some time. My application continues to be lost in the mail. But that wasn't where J.D. Vance stopped. There was another young woman who spoke at the event who herself seemed like an immigrant. I'm not gonna say she was, but you know, if I had my last dollar, I'd probably bet on it. Here it was.
Pushing out policies that hurt us, and these policies are not even solving the problems. These policies are just creating chaos.
Ma'am. Okay. So again, I'm gonna finish answering the question, and then if I've answered all 9 of your questions in less than 15 minutes, then we can keep on going. We got to have a little fun, right? So here's the thing. I can believe that the United States should lower its levels of immigration in the future, while also respecting that there are people who have come here through lawful immigration pathways that have contributed to the country. But just because one person or 10 people or 100 people came in legally and contributed to the United States of America, does that mean that we're thereby committed to let in 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people a year in the future? No, that's not right. We cannot have, I'll go and finish. We cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the whole world. It's to look out for the people of the United States. Now,
that's the answer. That is the answer when idiots try to, your grandparents came to Ellis Island. Yeah. It turns out what America needed 100 years ago is not what America needs now. Policies shift throughout time. I don't know what about this is confusing for some people. For example, and this goes for almost everything. This goes for, I don't know, security guarantees we made with Ukraine in 1995. When I was 6 years old, I didn't sign that. I didn't agree to that. And just because we did something in the past, it does not mean it binds us to do it in the future. There was a time in this country where we needed significantly low-skilled labor, low-skilled workers. People who could get by without speaking the language. There was a time where we could do that. We are not in that time. We are not in that time anymore. Now, once again, that is not to say that I don't think that people from all over the world who are incredibly exceptional shouldn't be allowed to come over here and apply their craft. I mean, not for nothing, I'm a baseball fan. You know, I don't know if you've watched a game recently, but there's a guy, plays for the Dodgers, greatest baseball player of all time, making California a shitload of money. I don't know if you heard of him. His name's Shohei Ohtani. I think it benefits the United States. Well, it doesn't, time out. It doesn't benefit the National League to have Shohei Ohtani here, but it benefits, the sport as a whole, or, almost every shortstop out there. It benefits us to get people with exceptional talents, whether they are athletes or musicians or math geniuses or scientists. It benefits us. It does not benefit us to import 35 million Uber drivers. It just doesn't. It turns out, spoiler alert, not everybody is equal. There are some people out there who can do some shit that you and I can't do. That's why we have the Olympics. Anybody who thinks that me and Usain Bolt are the same hasn't seen either one of us running before. And I think it's beneficial for the country to have those exceptional people here. But it is not J.D. Vance's job to be vice president of the world. It is his job to formulate policy that will benefit the United States. And if you are someone who is not going to benefit the United States, like that guy in Seattle who tried to kill his 17-year-old daughter because she wouldn't be sold off to a 53-year-old man in Iraq, if you're that guy, we don't need you. We don't need you. If you're the guy I showed yesterday who said that you cannot survive in America without SNAP benefits, you're going to have to go back to Iraq if you don't get government assistance. If you're one of those people, goodbye. Don't let the door hit you. It is not our job to be the policeman of the world, just as it is not the job of America to be the battered women's shelter of the world. It sucks in a lot of places. It does. That doesn't mean we need to have 75 students in every school, in every classroom, in every major metropolitan. Doesn't mean we have to do that. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. We're going to have more from J.D. Vance because he quelled the answer. Well, I don't know if he did. But he gave a good answer on his connection to Peter Thiel and Palantir, which a lot of people, particularly if you're in the online world, you are increasingly more and more worried about. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Guys, support people who support your values, your privacy, your liberty, and your security. Guys, go to oldglorybank.com and sign up today. I'm not a financial advisor, but if I was, I would tell you to lock in some of those CDs, as a lot of people think there is a stock market bubble coming, which I very much hope there is not. But, guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com, and they will help you out with that today. Go to oldglorybank.com. So, J.D. Vance has a friend. That friend's name is Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, everyone knows, started PayPal with Elon Musk. Big billionaire. One of the primary backers of Facebook in the early days. I think he invested like $200 million or some crazy-ass number, whatever the hell it was. He owns a company called Palantir. And if you are part of the online world, if you're watching this on X right now, you know exactly what Palantir is. I have no idea what it actually does. I don't think anybody really knows what Palantir does, except collect your data. Now I want to be clear, and I want to plead ignorance here. By collecting my data, I actually have no idea what the hell that means. I know that some people are very, very worried about it. I don't really know what it does. I guess so they can sell ads that are directed at me online. Some people are very, very upset about this. I understand that. And the billionaire class over on our side, as we continue to get a little bit more populous, is something that people are very, very much worried about. Obviously, we've got Elon. We don't want to become the sort of latte liberals that only cater to the billionaire class. And J.D. Vance was asked about his relationship with Peter Thiel and Palantir last night.
Hello, Vice President Vance.
How you doing?
Good. I have a question. Do you condone large private corporations such as Palantir hoarding data caches on U.S. citizens?
No, I don't condone it. And here's the thing. So I get asked about...
Sorry, that was kind of low. I'm going to start that over.
Hello, Vice President Vance.
How you doing?
Good. I have a question. Do you condone large private corporations such as Palantir hoarding data caches on U.S. citizens?
No, I don't condone it. And here's the thing. So I get asked about Palantir a lot because there's this internet meme out there that somehow I am super in bed with Palantir. And here's the thing that I'd say about this. Palantir is a private company. They sometimes do a useful service, and sometimes they're going to do things that we don't like. You should be demanding that your representatives do two things when it comes to Palantir or when it comes to any other technology company. Number one, protecting your data. What's going on with artificial intelligence is going to mean that there are massive inducements to steal your data, to harvest it, and to use it against you to sell digital advertisements. That is not what I believe in, and I've been fighting against it, whether it's Palantir or any other technology company, literally before I ran for office. When I ran for office, I was criticized by Republicans in my Republican Senate primary because I was talking then about Google and Facebook harvesting our data. It's unacceptable. I don't care who does it. I don't want them to do it. Number two, and this is also very important, what's going on with artificial intelligence, we got to be worried about large-scale surveillance, okay? Everything, when you asked about Palantir, do you know that every time you make a credit card transaction, the credit card companies are collecting data on how you spend your money? Do you know that every time you linger over a link on the internet for more than a half second, the search engines are collecting data on you so that they can sell you advertisements? One of the biggest questions for American policy over the next 10 years is how to ensure that you are a sovereign citizen. And you cannot be a sovereign citizen if any private corporation or any government can steal something from you that belongs to you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, look, yes, it is an internet meme that J.D. Vance is close with Palantir, and it's because he's friends with their CEO, Peter Thiel. So is Hulk Hogan. Like, Peter Thiel has a lot of influence. He does. He's one of the largest donors on the right, just short of Elon Musk, I would say. That's not it's not a secret. And yes, it does worry me that Palantir and many of the other companies are collecting giant data caches because even though I don't know what the hell they're doing with it, I'm sure they know what the hell they're doing with it. And as he said, the AI large-scale surveillance is something that we really have to talk about as we move into this 21st century economy. It's absolutely something that we need to discuss. Now, I also want to make it very clear, I do not trust 92-year-old Senator Chuck Grassley or 85-year-old Senator Peter Welch, or 82-year-old Bernie Sanders, or 84-year-old Mitch McConnell to be the ones to figure this out. If you need any more proof of that, go back and look at the Facebook hearings from about 6 years ago, and you'll find out that these old-timers don't have the slightest idea what the hell is going on. And it's not their fault. They remember when they got to listen to FDR on the radio. Just comes with time. However, it is nice to know that the next leader of the free world might be under the age of 1 million. Not that young. You know, he's 40, what is he, 42, 43? A little bit older than me. It is nice to know that we are at least breeding a younger generation of leaders in this country. That is something that I take great pride in. And I'm very happy about. Now, let's get to the question that pissed everybody off. I don't know why, because he gave what could only be described as the most tepid, mild, not even a real criticism of Israel. Just me even mentioning this, there will be people in my comment section losing their minds. And I don't know why. I don't know why. But of everything J.D. Vance said just now, the last 3 clips I played, the phenomenal answers, the direct answers that he gave, J.D. Vance mentions a certain region of the world, and all of a sudden, people lose their shit. I posted this clip on Twitter, and my comment section were full of not very, very not nice people, okay? J.D. Vance he was asked about the entanglements in the Middle East, a question that every politician has gotten since, 1980. And he talked about how him and Charlie would often talk about the American entanglements in the Middle East. Particularly, let's just be honest here, most entanglements in the Middle East, even just the fact that I have to really choose every word directly here. Boop, 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 boop. Just the fact that I have to choose every word directly here bothers me. Oh, look, Deborah Hornfeld is in the chat, the dumbest person that follows me. Just the fact that I have to couch my words here just not to upset people is bothersome. But here's what J.D. Vance said about conversations he had with Charlie about American entanglements in the Middle East.
Charlie Kirk called me, and guys, he was mad. It was one, I wouldn't say the last conversation that I had with him, but it was in the last few months of his life. And he called me and he said, JD, I'm really worried. I'm really worried that what's going on in the Middle East right now is going to lead.
Sorry about that. Deleted the wrong clip. Let me pull that back. Great. Here comes the internet conspiracy theories that I didn't. Whoa, he didn't want to play it. He didn't want to play it. Oh, here it is. Where the hell is it? Accidentally deleted the wrong clip. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I got it here somewhere. Boom. Here it is.
Charlie Kirk called me, and guys, he was mad. It was one, I wouldn't say the last conversation that I had with him, but it was in the last few months of his life. And he called me and he said, JD, I'm really worried. I'm really worried that what's going on in the Middle East right now is going to lead the United States into a protracted military conflict. I've never told anybody that Charlie was really worried about that in the final months of his life. Now, here's the thing. Charlie was so effective and he was so trusted by both me and the President of the United States that when Charlie made that phone call, I didn't say, screw you, you don't know what you're talking about. I listened to him. And I really believe that one of the reasons why the President of the United States knocked out the Iranian nuclear facilities, but never got the United States into a protracted military conflict and never lost a single American in a Middle Eastern conflict is because we had the wisdom and the good sense to recognize that the American people are done with American troops dying in unnecessary foreign conflicts. But Charlie Kirk reminded me of that. Charlie Kirk.
Okay, let's discuss. Now, the internet conspiracy theories are abound. They are flying off the shelves after everybody's losing their mind. Candace is going nuts. And Tucker's going nuts, and Fuentes and everybody else, they're all going crazy. And then you got the foreign policy establishments, the Mark Levins, and all the rest of the neocons out there saying J.D. Vance is criticizing Israel. He quite literally didn't say any of those things. But feel free to look into that, exactly what you want to believe, exactly what you already believed, and then insert the parts of that fit your pre-described narrative. When people do that stuff, it drives me insane. I don't care what the topic is. Everybody does that, and it drives me absolutely nuts. When people are like, they believe something, and then they hear something that agrees with their point, and then they cherry pick each individual part, stick it right in there, and oh look, more evidence. Drives me nuts. But that, you got to have controversial things every once in a while. You got to have controversial stuff every once in a while. But all while this is going on, Donald Trump is over in China, Asia, kicking ass and taking names, securing almost $2 trillion, not only in investment, but in purchasability of American goods. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, speaking of American-made products, head on over to MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD, that's MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD. Guys, I'm going to be kicking it with you for about 10, 15 more minutes. Hannah is at a conference in Washington, D.C. that I was supposed to be at, but couldn't be because I have a job outside of this. So she'll be coming on in about 20 minutes. Just rolling over for a little bit. Keep it locked in here. Rumble.com/LFATV for all of that. So all while this is happening, Donald Trump is over in China kicking names and taking ass on behalf of the United States, securing nearly $2 trillion in investment while he was over there.
Well, Maria, as you said, the contrast could not be more marked. That President Trump comes out to Asia, and I think at the end of the day, just this trip alone may end up in $2 trillion of investment. Then we go home, and the Democrats have decided, because of their poll numbers, because I don't even know why, they've decided to keep the government shut. You know, if you look, the vote is 52 Republicans have voted to reopen. 3 Democratic senators have done the brave thing, come across the line, and we're coming home. And it's a global embarrassment that these Democrats are doing, and I think part of it is the mainstream media is not holding them accountable. If the Republicans were doing this, anytime the Republicans have refused to reopen the government, the amount of terrible press that they get from the mainstream media is borders on hysterical, and where's the fairness here? And you're right, Maria, we are starting to eat into the economy.
And he's right. Look, he's absolutely right. But the important part of that clip is that while this government shutdown is happening, the real government hasn't stopped, because it turns out President Trump does exactly what he tells you he's going to do. And he's not your traditional conservative. And I love when they do this. I really do. I love when, members of the media find, befuddlement in the idea that Donald Trump does what works, regardless of whether or not it's a traditionally Republican thing or traditionally a Democrat thing. He tells you he's going to do something, and then he just does it because he's business-oriented, not complaint-oriented. When you work in politics, there are people out there like Rob Trotta here in Suffolk County who has made a career out of doing nothing and just complaining about things. When you're in business, your job, you have a problem, you come up with a solution, you execute to the solution. It doesn't really matter whether it's a Bernie Sanders idea or a Heritage Foundation idea. And shockingly, Abby Phillip seems to still not get it.
When you look at what Trump is doing as president, in a way, he's challenging capitalism. He's putting tariffs on countries indiscriminately, just because he wants to, making the case that he's doing it for Americans. He is taking government stakes in private companies. That's a Bernie Sanders idea, by the way. He is creating a government website where people can shop around for prescription drugs, another Bernie Sanders idea. So his willingness to just take some of these ideas that Democrats have been talking about and just do them, no matter how controversial they are, has been one of the things that, whether you like him or not, what people will say about Trump is that he does what he says. And I think that Democrats, one of the big problems that they have is that voters don't think they're going to do what they say.
That's a fact.
They say all the right things, but they don't think they're going to do what they say. And so whether it's challenging, you can call it challenging capitalism or challenging whatever, voters want to know that you're willing to buck the system for them. And I think Trump does that right now in a way that really like shakes people up and makes people really mad. But that is also why a lot of voters, whether they like him or not, they will describe him as effective.
Yeah, because it turns out good ideas aren't partisan. I think Bernie Sanders is an old communist who's never had a real job in his entire life. And a lot of the things that he's out there prescribing are absolutely insane. However, if you watch this show, I use a lot of left-wing content because it turns out I don't need to ignore the fact that I can agree with you 2 out of every 10 times when wanting to get things done. Prescription drugs are out of control. And Donald Trump setting up a government website so that you can purchase prescription drugs through the government is a good idea. I don't care that it's a Bernie Sanders idea. It's not price controls. It's putting us on the same playing field as every other country in the world. Now, I almost couldn't believe my ears when I heard Abby Phillips saying all that. It's always funny when I see members of the left on other shows, because you can get a gauge of like where they actually stand on things. And someone like Abby Phillip, who sounds a lot more pro-Trump than one would think, than one would imagine. We play a lot of Abby Phillip on this show. We do a lot of Abby Phillip making fun of on this show. But she sounded totally reasonable there. Sounded totally reasonable. If she sounded a little bit more reasonable on her own show, perhaps more people would watch it. What a thought. But here's what she's doing. She goes on Charlemagne's show, which is a normie show. It's not even a political show. And she actually gets to speak her mind. Perhaps if she did that a little bit more on CNN, they wouldn't have lower ratings than HGTV4. I don't know. Just something to think about. But hey, what the hell do I know? What do I know? Oh, I know what I know. I know that Zohran Mamdani is going to be the next mayor of New York because nobody wanted to listen to me. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, guys, head on over to LFATV.us. It's LFATV.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFATV related. Check out the LFATV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFATV. That's the best way to support this channel and everything we've got going on over here, guys. LFATV.us. That's LFATV.us. So, look. This next segment, as we wait for Hannah Faulkner to come on, she should be on in about 10 minutes. I don't like this. I'm not happy about this. I actually, and most people don't know this, I actually don't like to be proven right. Because normally when I'm proven right, it's because a group of people, a large group of people, a gigantic group of people, chose not to listen to me. And this is one of those instances where people have chosen not to listen to me. Perhaps it's arrogance. Perhaps it's, I don't know what the hell it is. But some people out there are going to try to convince you that the New York City mayor's race is tightening. It's getting closer. I guess if I score 2 points against Michael Jordan, I guess it's getting closer, but I'm probably still not going to win. And that's what we're seeing in the New York City mayor's race. Now, I want to be clear. Next Wednesday, if things don't go as I've told you, I will come on here hat in hand and I will eat some crow because I am not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. However, it doesn't seem like I'm wrong in this particular instance. Here's Harry Enton from CNN, letting you know.
Polling suggests that this race is, simply put, not close at all. I know there are a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of Cuomo fans who think that this race is closing. I want what they're having, because if we take a look at the choice for New York City mayor, look, back in September, Mamdani was ahead by 15 points, my aggregate polls, 45 to 30%. You jump to now, it's basically the same story. If nothing else, Mamdani might have actually gained a point or two. Mamdani closing in on that 50% mark, 48%. You see Cuomo here at 31%. At this particular point, and we're getting close to where this particular point is Election Day, this race is, simply put, not close at all.
There's been talk about, older voters coming out and that was going to change things because he has such huge support from younger voters. What are you seeing on that?
Okay, yeah. So what could cause the polls to possibly be wrong? Well, maybe they're mismodeling the electorate. What Cuomo wants is a surge of older voters and younger voters to make up a lower percentage of the electorate than the polls suggest. Is that happening so far? Well, take a look here. The 2025 New York City electorate under age 45. If you look at Marist, they're projecting among all likely voters that it's going to be 38%. What do we see in the early vote so far? It's basically the same percentage. We see him making up 36%. And I will note that the overall vote is usually a little bit younger than the early vote suggests. So this number is likely to climb a little bit and probably match this number. What we're seeing right now is it does seem to me that the pollsters are modeling the electorate correctly. They are getting that age divide right, which of course is very good news for Zohran Mamdani, because obviously those under the age of 45 very much support his campaign. Those older support Cuomo. And at this point, those under 45 are being modeled, it seems to me, correctly by the pollsters.
Yeah, there's always been this push to get younger people to vote, and now it is happening, and they are going.
That is exactly right. A much higher percentage of younger voters than 4 years ago.
Is there any precedent, though, for this, for any New York City mayoral candidate to surpass expectations compared to the polling?
Yeah, okay. So the question is, right, are the Cuomo folks living in a fantasy land, the fans of Cuomo living in a fantasy land, that maybe they can overcome this large polling lead for Zohran Mamdani? Well, at this particular point, it to me suggests no, based upon history. They are living in a bit of a fantasy land if you think you're going to be overcoming the polling. Why? Mamdani leads by 17 points right now. I look back at all of the final polling dating all the way back since 1989. The largest final polling average error was 11 points in 2005. 11 points is way less than 17 points. So at this point, it would take something unprecedented, at least in the last 36 years of New York City mayoral races, for Andrew Cuomo to overcome Mamdani's lead. Mamdani has the ball. It looks like he's running right for the end zone with no tacklers in front of him.
I saw all these things. You did the jumping and the Heisman. Like, you're on it today.
I feel, I will tell you, maybe I'll dress up. I'm feeling the Halloween spirit. Maybe I'll dress up.
We know you will.
As a nice running back for Halloween, right? Like that.
All right. Thank you, Ari. For the Bills.
Harry Enton, of course, the most entertaining man on CNN. Whether he's right or whether he's wrong on his Halloween costume, look, I've been saying it for months, and no one wanted to listen to me. The pick had to be Eric Adams. Republicans could have held their nose. Democrats would have gotten in line. Independents would have done their thing. And maybe we would have had a shot. But no. The Facebook campaign managers out there, they know better. Despite the fact they've never run a campaign in their entire life. Let's ignore the fact that, I was one of the leading causes for a congressional district in New York City to flip to red for the first time since 1988. Let's ignore that. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about here. I don't know what I'm talking about. What do I know? I'm just your run-of-the-mill MAGA extremist. And I can't do addition. I'm not saying I like it. I'm saying I'm here in reality. A lot of people I like are living in a faraway land. And I'll never, make a thing about it or, turn it into I'm a victim or some shit. But let me tell you something. I have been getting abused online for stating what I thought was a fairly obvious point. A fairly obvious. I'm not really going out on a limb here. You know, like I said, it's just addition and subtraction. But some people would rather choose, I don't know, arrogance or morals over winning. And that's okay. You know, no one's asking anybody to question their principles or question their morals. All I'm saying is that I'm here to win. I'm here to win, and we can work out the rest afterwards. Because if you don't win, you can't govern. And I promise you, New York is the test case for the rest of the country. Here's Mike Johnson saying the same thing.
The House have put their own political survival in front of the needs of the American people. Exhibit A is Zoran Mamdani. New York City, America's largest city, the cradle of capitalism that has always been, is facing a real crisis right now. They've got a 34-year-old, unproven, untested socialist who looks to be the next mayor. He may well be elected. Mamdani winning New York City would be the biggest win for the Marxists, the socialists, in the history of this country. We have, to this point, in nearly 250 years, been able to hold off those kinds of ideas. We've been able to cling to the foundational principles of America, the ideas of individual freedom and limited government and the rule of law and peace through strength and fiscal responsibility and free markets and human dignity. All those things are in jeopardy when the Marxists take over. And it's the clearest sign yet that the Democrats' radical Marxist wing is winning the battle for control of their party. Look at where the energy is. This should be alarming to everyone around the country. Mamdani has, of course, called to defund the police, to abolish all prisons, to legalize prostitution. He lambasted the New York PD, the New York Police Department, as a racist system. And you might have seen, if you in the media are covering this, but there was a new video uncovered from 2023, just 2 years ago, and he said, quote, "We have to be clear, when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. Look, it's a unique talent to merge one's loathing for American law enforcement with their loathing for the Jewish people. But this guy's, he's managed to do it. New York is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not isolated to America's largest city. It's other cities as well. Look at Seattle, where the leading candidate for mayor is an open socialist.
I mean, look, I'm not telling you guys, and I while that clip was on, I was watching the chat. Guys, come back next Wednesday and tell me how wrong I was. Because if I am wrong, I'll admit it. But I don't think I'm going to be. Guys, Hannah's coming up next for the next 40 minutes, and then we're back to the regularly scheduled program. Make sure you keep it locked in here for her. Great kid. Great kid. She's rocking. She's rolling. Guys, I'll catch you back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.